Hello, how are you today? Today I'd like to talk about the platform that we are slowly launching, which is called JoPearls. Jo stands for Jochebed, and pearls are pearls that people wear, and I'm going to talk about why I call this JoPearls. So let's start with Jochebed. I bet many of you don't know who Jochebed is, but you know her son. Her son is called Moses. And this is not about Jochebed, because it is about Moses and what he was called and prepared to do on earth. So why do I call this Jo or Jochebed? Jochebed, mother of Moses, was pregnant and gave birth to Moses at a time when firstborn boys were being executed by Pharaoh. And Jochebed looked at her son and believed that this boy is very, very important. He has a big calling. So she did her best to hide her son. And I want to believe that because she was married, she was able to influence her husband to buy into this idea of hiding this boy. Imagine the boy was born, he must have been crying. I don't know how they're able to hide this baby, but somehow she was able to hide the baby, which means she was very courageous to hide the baby and not being scared of what could happen to her if she's found out. So she hid the baby, fed the baby for a while, for at least 3 months. And when it was time for her to release him, she put the baby in the basket and into the river. But she knew exactly where to put her son. This was near where the princess, daughter of Pharaoh, was bathing. And of course, she was able to see the baby. Instead of saying, why is this boy not executed? Why was he not executed at this age? Maybe old enough to, after a few months have passed. But favor was upon both Jochebed and Moses, because Moses had a purpose. So instead she said, okay, I'll take this boy into the palace and I would like you to look after, to feed the baby. So Jochebed was chosen to feed her own baby. So you can see how strategic this whole thing was. God planned everything. God prepared everything. God purposed for Moses to be where he was. He was even positioned at the right place with the right parents to meet the right person so that he could be taken to the right place to live and to get all the education that he needed. Because after a while, he was taken into the palace where he grew up from. So you can see Jochebed, I believe, had divine connection in the sense that she was connected to God to know that this boy has a big purpose and I must protect him using any means. So she was connected to God. Not only that, but she was able to hear God speaking to her on when exactly to take this boy. And also she was an influencer. For her to tell the husband, I'm sure she needed some convincing power to convince her husband to let her keep the baby. So you can see this lady was courageous. She was connected to God. She trusted God. she was obedient. She obeyed God's instructions. But also, she was able to know what to do, when and where. And this is what I believe women should be. We should be able to influence our partners, our husbands, on matters of our homes, parenting matters, but we should also be courageous to know how to protect our children. We live in a world where things are very, very difficult. Morals are decaying. So to raise children at this time is very difficult. The same way as Jochebed. She raised her son during a very difficult time, but she was able to raise a child who became a legacy. As mothers of today, we should be able to know the purpose of our children. Because when we know what they're supposed to be doing, it is easy for us to be present in their lives. Jochebed was present fully in her child's life, and I believe she was able to instill values that were very necessary. Because remember, Moses was an Israelite. But he was not raised in an Israelite home. She was raised in a Pharaoh's home. But because the values were instilled at a very young age, that's why we're being told to train up our children from a very young age, to instill the values. She was able to instill the values which made him know that you are an Israelite. It doesn't matter where you are. So even when he was in the palace and he was moving around in town, for example, we were able to read where he killed this Egyptian who was torturing an Israelite. Why? It's because it was in his blood. He knew where he was coming from. He knew his identity. As parents are supposed to know our children's purposes. We need to get them to know their identity, because when they know their identity, it's going to be very difficult for them to be swayed. They'll be confident in what they're doing. They'll be very clear in what they want to do in their lives. And Moses knew what he wanted to do because he had values instilled at a very young age. So as mothers, as women, as wives, we need to know our roles, different roles that we hold, but also what each role has the purpose, the responsibilities. So as a woman in the society, what are we supposed to do? As wives, what is our role and what are our responsibilities? As mothers, what are our responsibilities in raising children? Because if a child is not doing well, it comes back not to the husband or to the dad, but to the mother. If the home is not well looked after, the wife is not wise enough on how to look after the home, it goes back to the woman, not to the husband or to the man. So as women have been given a very big responsibility in the society, as helpers, as mothers, as wives, we need to know how are we supposed to help our children, our husbands, influencing them positively so that we can make sure our children, even ourselves, we are able to fulfill our purposes on earth. So Jochebed is very important to me because of the times that she was raising this child. And I believe she must have been feeling some pain because she knew that at some point this baby would be executed. But guess what? She still held on to the son. And not only that, she knew that at some point, okay, I'm raising this child for the princess. So at some point, I'll have to release him. So that must have been traumatizing her. But instead, she continued, she looked after this child. So she was a walking wounded woman. She was in pain, but she still continued to do what she was supposed to do. And that's what is happening to many of us women. Many of us have been through a lot of challenges in our lives. It could be maybe as young ladies, young girls. Many of us young ladies, young children, young girls have been traumatized by their own mothers. A lot of women, when you talk to them, they will tell you how bad their relationship were with their mothers. Toxic relationships. But as they grow older, maybe when they're young ladies, teenagers, maybe some of them had issues with their physical appearance during puberty. Maybe their friends were dating. Maybe there are some things that they went through as teenagers during puberty period. That caused trauma. Just the way, same as when they were younger, with toxic relationship with their mothers. Trauma. Teenagers, trauma. Maybe the girls, maybe you're very pretty and your friends are jealousy, they gossip about you. Trauma. Maybe you are a late developer. You're not developing as fast as others. Trauma. Mocking, bullying. So as teenagers, we went through trauma. You go to university, maybe you decide to date, heartbroken, trauma. You go to work, you're being asked to sleep with the boss in order to get a job, trauma. You manage to get a job without sleeping with the boss, or you do, that's not what I'm here for, but you get the job, you're doing your job very well, you deserve promotion. It doesn't come like that. You have to sleep with the boss. You finish that, maybe you're doing very well in your career. Now you're 28, 30, 35, no boyfriend. Your mom, your dad, they come to you asking you, what is happening? Why are you not getting married? Just marry somebody. Because, you're expected to be married by now. You're 28. It's late. You find yourself a man just to please your parents. Trauma. Or some girls I hear, they marry themselves nowadays. What do? They find a man, give them money, because a lot of women are doing well in the corporate world, in their employment. So they have money. They give to their men, they choose one, take this as dowry to my parents. Big wedding just to show that I got married. Some of them continue living with them, but different rooms maybe, just for their show. Trauma. Because trust me, many of them are not happy. Sometimes maybe you haven't managed to get a man. Your mom, your dad comes and say, hey, at least give us a grandchild. At least one. What do? You go and look for the perfect man with the perfect genes. I think that person is the right person. I'm going to have a child with them, not necessarily having a relationship with them. Or maybe you are dating that person and maybe this relationship is not going to go anywhere and you're aware of that. But the purpose that you have in this relationship is to get a baby. You get a baby, you please your parents. Trauma. Or maybe you manage to get a husband, it is a happy marriage, but the first year passes, no child. Second year, the mother-in-law comes to you, say, what's happening? It's 9 months now since the wedding. We had a big wedding. What is happening? Why are you not having children? Sometimes as if we are the reason. It could be maybe the son. But then you are traumatized by your mother-in-law because you're not giving birth. They want a grandchild fast. Trauma. You manage to get a husband, you manage to get children. The child does not obey you. The child is misbehaving. Trauma. The child does not turn out to be the way you're hoping them to be. Trauma. So you can see these are different scenarios that I come across. Women are going through a lot of challenges from the family, from the parents, from the families, from the society, sometimes even from our place of faith, churches, mosques, your friends. So we are going through a lot of pain. So many of us women are walking wounded women. And that's why we have this platform. We will be addressing all these different issues, all these different challenges. We'll have smaller groups to address different challenges. Groups for mother-in-law, and in fact, I forgot to talk about the mother. I've forgotten to talk about grandmother. Now, the grandmother, she has a child with a son, a daughter, married, children, but she looks back and she can see the way her child, whether it's a son or the way they're behaving in the marriage, she can tell that that child is traumatized, and I know I caused it. Maybe your child is in his fourth or third or second marriage, and the reason is maybe he abuses his wife. But you remember, when you're married to even if you're still married, your husband was abusing you. And that child saw all that. And now what does he do? He does the same thing. He abuses his wife. The first one has gone, the second one, and now this is the third one. You know the trend. You know, where did this start from? Or some mothers, some grandmothers, or they're divorcing their husbands because we women, we put up with a lot of things in our marriages, all because of our children. I don't want my child to be raised by a stepmom. I'm gonna stick in there. I'm not going to allow my child to see me in pain. So we just hide because we don't want to have a broken, dysfunctional home. But our children watch all these things. And when when they're older, the pattern will repeat themselves. So women, mothers, grandmothers, we look back and say, I know where this is coming from. We live with pain. That is trauma. Or sometimes divorce. You are getting divorced at 70, 75 years old. Where are you going to go? But you feel like, I've had enough, I'm going to go. And I've dealt with problems where the children side with I'm not saying they should be siding with anyone, but you've worked hard with your husband, you've got homes or whatever it is, your wealth, and the husband decides to have another woman at 70, 75, and the children side with the husband, or even if they don't side, but the husband goes with a younger woman. I see a lot of older men having relationship with younger women, leaving their wives. And when things are really, really bad, or maybe The man is older, sick, with age. Sickness comes, diseases are there. These young ones don't have time for that. They ditch them. What do you think they do? They go back to their wives, and we just pick them up and we look after them. But what I've also noticed, when a husband passes away, the wife will continue raising the children as a family. But when the wife passes away, the family disintegrates. Children are looked after by different family members. And this is because women, we are binders. We bind families. So you can see the trauma that we go through, the different traumas that we go through. But yet, we still strive to make sure that our families are together. So this platform is there to help young ladies from a very young age know who they are, their identities, help them through the challenges, the different challenges that they go through at different stages in their lives. So that means we look after the inside. If there's any pain, we remove, we heal. We make sure that the inside is healed, is okay. Then we come out. When we come out, that is where now it's the etiquette. We teach you how to look after yourself, how to dress, how to address people, how to interact with people, how to communicate, whether it's social media, phone, but also when you go out, what dress should you wear, gala, cocktail, business meeting. All this is out. So we start from inside out. Because once you have healed, once you're good with inside, your character, now comes the outside, the elegance, the looking good, the way you talk, the way you communicate, your behavior, your appearance, everything put together, well put together. And that's where now the pearls come out. Pearls for me are elegance. Pearls they make us look good, beautiful, elegant. That's why we have JoPearls. Jo stands for Jochebed, what I've just described, the kind of woman that we are working with. But then the pearls are how we look outside, externally, once we've taken care of our inside, the wounds that we've been through, we've gone through. So it's going to be now the outward, the external, the pearls. And why pearls, you might ask me? Like I said, I love pearls, but a long time ago, when I was expecting my last born, I was thinking, what name should I give her? I said, I know a lot of Lulus, they are very beautiful. So I'm going to call her Lulu. It was just out of vanity, nothing much. Sure enough, she was born and she was called Lulu, obviously. Lulu is a Swahili word. In English, it's called pearls. Let me tell you about Lulu. Lulu was born 7 years after my last born. I had a boy, I had a girl, so she was a surprise. But it was a pleasant surprise. When I went to give birth to her, it was a struggle because we were at the maternity ward. I had midwives looking after me. The baby is supposed to be coming out. I had dilated enough for the baby to come out, but she wouldn't come out. And I remember a few months before, I met a friend who said, the devil always causes chaos, confusion during childbearing. You either lose the mother or the child, or both. And you need to be praying. So I went to the hospital to give birth. I'd forgotten about that. But when we were struggling, at some point, I heard the midwife calling the doctor saying, we need to take this lady to the operating room. And then she called the operating room, telling them to prepare the room. I knew that was serious. And then I remembered what that lady said. So I started praying for the baby to come out, and she did come out. So from the word go, she had struggles to come out. At some point, when she was a bit older, TV fell on her leg. It was a big accident. She injured her calcaneal bone, which is a very rare. I took her to the hospital in Tanzania. They couldn't deal with it. I took her to South Africa. They couldn't deal with it. I took her to England, where they were able to put a screw. She had an operation, they put a screw. And the following year, I had to go back to remove the screw, which was 2014. So I went to England, back to England. We took out the screw. That was around May, June, sometime, something like that. And at this time, she was around 5.5 years old. I had my first boot camp. She was the seed. We did the boot camp, and then at the end of that year, on the 31st of December, we were planning to have a New Year's Eve party. Unfortunately, she and the maid went to the gate to open the gate, and the gate fell on both of them. Unfortunately, both of them perished. So it was a painful incident, as you can imagine. And I was obviously not happy. I was angry with God, asking him a lot of different questions. But then, at some point, I was able to reconcile with what had happened. I started asking God, why me? He said, I knew you were strong enough and you could take him and you'll be able to do something with this. So I thought, okay, this is Lulu's light. Whatever I was going to give to her, in terms of looking after everything, I'm going to be giving it to other children, because I've always been passionate about children. I said, I'm going to give this to other people. Whoever comes to my office, whoever I talk to, that light will be shining in her life. So Lulu's life will not be in vain. She passed away, but she's going to be living in people's lives as a light. So that is now how the pain that she went through, different accidents. She had like maybe 2 different accidents. But at some point, she was taken from me and she gave birth to what I'm doing now. It is a bit painful. Actually, it is painful. But I know God had given me Lulu for a reason. Now, Lulu, like I said, is what we call pearls in English. Pearls. Now, let's look at pearls. Pearls, the way they're made. You have an oyster, and then maybe an irritant. Something goes into the oyster inside. So it's an irritation. The oyster the only way it can get rid of that is by covering it to remove that irritation. So that irritant is continuously being covered, pressed. That process of covering, pressing, and all that, covering it with some liquid, some material around it, at the end of that, it becomes a pearl. So a pearl is a result of pressure, pain, whatever it is that is done to it to become the beautiful thing that we wear afterwards. So you can see the connections that the pearl, which is what Lulu went through pain, pressure, to become the beautiful thing that we wear. Lulu's life, although very short, she died 6 days before she turned 6. Her life gives birth to many people, gives light to many people, gives hope to many people. So her life was not in vain. So the three are connecting themselves. The pearls, my daughter's life, Lulu, and JoPearls. So the three of them together have formed JoPearls, a platform whereby women get to know who they are, get to heal, get to connect with God, so that they can know their purpose. Because we all have a purpose, and our purposes are known by the one who created us. There is no way you will be fully conversant with what you're called to do. You must be connected to who brought you here. So our purpose through this platform, JoPearls, is to help people to go back to their roots, to know who they are, why they're here, what are they here to do, to fulfill their callings. Because before you are a mother, before you are a wife, you were or you are a woman with ambitions, with purpose. And we must know why we're here so we can fulfill our callings. And in the process, God brings us the siblings, the friends, the partners, our husbands, our children, so we can have relationships with them, different relationships. But our main purpose is to make this a better and beautiful world to live in, to have God known to the world. So the process, each one of us goes through different path that has been prepared, and you've been positioned in that path for that purpose to achieve. Even the pain is part and parcel of that process. So we must endure the pain, because at the end of it all, our purposes are going to be fulfilled. And I hope, my dear friend, you'll be able to join our platform so that you can also get to know your purpose. You can also get to know how to be the best woman. Maybe you're not married, maybe you're still young, but the best version of yourself as just a woman in the society. But also, when you become a wife, you don't get married just because you are expected to do or to become. No. You get married because you know what your role is, what your responsibilities are as a wife. then when you go to that marriage, you're going to give it 100%. You are going to, before you become a mother, we're going to help you know what exactly it takes for you to be a good mother. Many children are being raised by their mates, and now because of technology, by technology. Unfortunately, I see a lot of challenges that children are going through because we parents are very busy. We parents don't know our responsibilities. We are chasing maybe money for school fees, for other things, but we are forgetting that we are stewards of these children. Some people don't have children. We've been blessed by these children. God has given us these children for a reason, and we must do what it takes to make sure we protect these children. We know their purposes. We are present in their children. We are the perfect paragon. We're perfect role models. But all that comes with prayers. If you can pray, your children will be able to fulfill their purposes. And you look back one day and you say, I've done my job well, and you're receiving your crown. Because God is waiting at the end of that journey, at the end of that path that you're traversing through with the crown. And we will be crowned, looking good with our pearls in front of God. I hope, my dear, you understand now why we have this JoPearls platform, and you will join us, because together, through sharing our challenges, through sharing our wisdom, through sharing ideas, we should enrich ourselves. As older women, should be mentors to the younger ones. And together we'll make this a better and beautiful place to live in, because that is what we are called to do as women. From Genesis, we are helpers, not just wives, but helpers in the society, in our marriages, and in our parenting. I hope you've learned something today, and you want to be part and parcel of our journey. Please join us through this platform. And if you need to hear more about this, if you want us to come and talk to you as a group, small group of young ladies, single ladies, we can come and talk to you. If you want us to come and talk to women, as just women, we can come and talk to you. If you want us to come and talk to you as mothers, wives, we have plenty for experiences that we can share with you, and we would welcome you. If you want us to come and teach you about etiquette, whether it's dining etiquette, social etiquette, business etiquette, dress code etiquette, we'll be there. I've been trained in England, and I've got over 10 years experience in etiquette. I was trained in 2012. So when it comes to etiquette, I'm an expert, qualified etiquette trainer, not someone who's just read on internet and is teaching you. But when it comes to matters of family, I've been through a lot of challenges. This is my second marriage. Not that I'm proud of it, but I believe God allowed me to go through second marriage so that when you come to me and talk to me about divorce, I'll be able to help you. When you come to me and talk to me about blended family, I'll be able to help you, because I married my husband who was also married. So he has children. So I know how to deal or talk to children who are not mine, stepchildren, but also to the ex-wife, to have a good relationship with the ex-wife. When it comes to death, I've been through death. My daughter passed away. So if you've been through death, we'll be able to help you. When it comes to teenagers, my children are now in their 20s. I know issues to do with teenagers. Maybe you're the firstborn. You're being pressured to have children, to get married. I've been there. My brother, I'm the firstborn. My younger brother, younger sister got married before me, had children before me. You can imagine the pressure that I was in. I was there. So you might come and say that, Grace, I'm being pressured. I've been there. I know how it feels. You might come and say that, Gracie, I'm 35 years old. I'm 40. I'm not, I don't have a husband. I want to have a child. Because I get people who come to me and say, you know what, I've lost hope, so I'm just going to have a child. My dear, I had my last born, blessed Lulu, rest in peace, at 43. I believe even that was a purpose. God gave me Lulu at 43. I know the chances of having a Down syndrome child are high because of the age, but God gave me a child who was very beautiful, just like her name, Lulu. So I've been through a lot, and now I know why God allowed all those challenges, because He had a purpose. There is a path for me, because I have a purpose, which is what I'm doing right now. And I've been prepared through all those pain that I've been through. And I've been positioned now, this time, this era, for a reason. So I believe when you come to us, when you come to me, through JoPearls, you will not live the same. You will be enriched, enlightened, educated, and you will be excellent in everything that you'll be doing afterwards. My dear, take care. Have a good day. Ciao.